Well, hello, folks. Hey, here we are. Old Sty out here. What's he up to? We're going to do a product review, okay? On this puppy right here. I'll probably plug in a nice big picture, close-up of it. Let me tell you quick. Okay, first of all, I'm going to try to pronounce this. It's QuntionST. QuntionST. I'll put that down below, the name of this. And it's a survival tool. And it's got, I'm going to go through basically what it's got. And then we're going to put some of these things in here to test. It's got a little hatchet head here. That hatchet head's not even 2 inches in height. Okay. And it's got a pretty fairly sharp blade. It comes in this nice sheath. It's got the belt strap on it, and it's got the belt strap has 2 options. The snap, you can just snap it onto a belt, so you can take the whole thing off easily enough, or it's got the full stitched on belt hoop. So, and I've put it on the belt, and it's comfortable. It's very comfortable to carry. So there you go. There's the sheath. Okay, back to the tool. Okay, like I said, it's got this hatchet head. Small little hatchet head. It's got a nice hammer head. Now this tool is fairly heavy. You notice it's got a really nice handle. Wooden handle. It's got this kind of odd handle here. Now when you hold this, it's kind of contoured, and it fits in the hand quite well, actually. It feels good. There's not a lot of distance between your hand and the head of this, though. We'll get to that. All right. What else does this tool have? Well, there's a little ring down here, that spring loaded. You flip that ring down, and that handle pops up. That handle makes this a pliers. It's got a set of teeth that are at a 90. They meet together just great. It's got the open teeth for getting around a bolt or whatever. And it's got a wire cutter. Okay. Now, I don't have any wire to test, but looking at that wire cutter, yeah, it'll definitely do the trick for cutting wire, or any kind of small steel based kind of material that you would need to cut. I don't know if it would cut cordage quite well, but the hatchet head would do that. Put a piece of cordage on a piece of wood and give it a tap. It cut that cordage in a flash. Okay, so you got the pliers, very nice, large, just pretty large opening. The handle is comfortable. Good spring to it, so it opens itself up. It only opens itself up part way. Otherwise, you gotta manually open it beyond. But functional, very functional. Now I'm gonna put that back into place, because that's all that handle has to do with. Hatchet head, hammer, right? Now, in the handle, we've got different accessories. We've got the fish scaler. I'm going to move my chair a little farther forward. There we go. Got the fish scaler. It's got a file on one side and a screwdriver head. And it seems to be pretty sturdy. Pretty sturdy. And yeah, that would scale a fish in a flash. Yeah. So that's a good tool. What's next? Here we go. the different head sizes for different nuts and bolts, you know, a bottle opener. So that's pretty basic. That's pretty basic. Is that necessary? I don't know that it is. I don't know that that would be a necessary item in a tool like this. But it's there. The next item in this handle is the saw. Okay, you can see how that saw is on the tool. Now, that we should see, does it cut? We're going to adjust the camera here so that you can see this tool being used a little better. All right. Let's see if this thing will cut. I got a piece of wood here. This is birch. Birch is technically a hardwood. So that's going to put this little saw to test. And it's no more than 1 inch thick. Okay? Let's see if it'll cut. Will it cut? Yes. It is cutting. Now, it's not very comfortable. You hold it so that the saw blade can function. And look at here. That X head is facing your wrist. That blade is facing your wrist. That is I wish that axe head was on this other side. I wish this was flipped right around this head, because having the blade facing you when you're using one of these tools just isn't wise. Okay, I was able to cut a ways into this, but I stopped because one thing I noticed is the girth of the blade, of the actual cutting blades, is a little bit narrower than the thickness of the blade itself. So it's starting to bind up. You really couldn't cut through any thick wood because you get a little over halfway through and it binds up. It binds up because the top of the blade is thicker than the cutting edge. It should be the opposite. The cutting edge should be a little wider than the top of the blade. Does it work? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But that's an issue. The other big issue is, again, this axe head, hatchet head, facing your wrist. Look at that. If that was any sharper than that, I wouldn't even be using that saw. No way. Because of the risk of that hatchet head. Okay, the next tool. Oop. Doesn't want to come out of it. There it is. Next tool in here, very straightforward, very basic. It's just a simple Phillips head screwdriver. That's all it is. Phillips head. Come in handy, just like the flathead screwdriver. You know, it may come in handy. Now, out in the field, out in a survival situation, how necessary would that be? To me, it wouldn't be. So I would eliminate this and that bottle opener because the bottle opener with the little square heads for different nuts and bolts, I'd eliminate those two blades. I just can't see a real purpose. The flathead screwdriver I might leave because that has the fish scaler and a file on it. So that makes that more valuable. Okay? There's only one item left in the handle, and that's the cutting blade. Okay, so there's the cutting blade. Again, to hang on to this and use that cutting blade, look at the head of this hatchet. Where is it going to hit you if something goes bad? It's the head of that hatchet. It's going to catch you right in the wrist. And you could cut yourself severely if that's any sharper than it came from the factory, and it's fairly sharp. I say, even at the point it's at, that's risky, that head facing the wrist. Now this knife has a pretty fair edge, on it for coming right from the factory. So let's put it to the test on some birch. Oh, yeah, yeah, but look at again that you slipped the wrong way. Let's say you slipped off of something and that spun around and hit you in the wrist. You could give yourself a nice big 1 to 2 inch gash across your wrist with the head of that hatchet. So it's whittling this hardwood, birch, quite easily. Try it on a piece of pine. Oh yeah. I would say if you put a better edge on this knife, because this is right from the factory, you put a better edge on this knife, and yeah, that knife blade will make feather sticks for you. It'll cut the things you need. It'll cut cordage. It'll cut, yeah, it's a functional knife. And the only thing with the knife is the blade isn't very heavy. So you got to be a little careful with it because it's kind of thin steel. It does have a little bit of bend to it, so you want to be a little careful with it. Now, I'm going to get back to this blade. We're going to talk about this blade again in a moment. We got to test this a little more. The hammerhead, like I said, this head is awful close to your hand. So you're not going to be able to pound anything too large in the way of a nail with this. Smaller nails, yeah, I can see that. Or if you're driving wooden pegs with it, I can see that. I gave it a good beating like that just to see how did the whole thing hold up. I think it's going to hold up just fine. Yeah, you can give it quite a beating with that hammerhead. Now, this little hatchet. One thing I noticed, okay, this is a maple log here, splitting log, and my regular axe, I tap it in there and it stands right up. As you can see a gash right there. Just take a regular axe and you just kind of drop it on there. It sticks right in there. This hatchet, I can't get it to stick in that. There. I got the very tip of it to stick into it, but not firmly. Okay? So that way it's too wide. It's a splitting tool because it's got this narrow knife edge with this wide axe or hatchet head body. It's made for splitting. But what in the world are you going to split with that? Okay, here's a small piece of wood. Now this is poplar. This is just poplar. It's a softwood. It's a very soft wood. And I'm going to try to split it with this. It's a very small piece. It should split. Wow. Hit her pretty good. guess what? The tool just came apart. These two rivets failed. I'm gonna adjust this, see if I can get it popped back into place. Boy, oh boy, something tells me okay, now I popped the rivets back into place, but the steel on this is so thin and weak that the steel failed and it bent. What I can see that you could do to fix this problem, now right now this tool is not functional because of that. Well, the head of it's not. I could take the hammer and the hatchet off and lose the wire cutter and the pliers and just have a pocket knife, a multi-tool pocket knife is what I'd end up with. This tool has, of course, the issue I was talking about. If you're using one of these tools, the way those tools are designed, and we're going to concentrate on the blade, okay, the way it's designed, that blade should have been so that it was, the blade edge is facing the opposite direction, so the hammer head is going to, if anything, touch your wrist, not the sharpened axe head touching your wrist. Right now, if you're going to use the blade, the sharpened edge of the blade, the sharpened edge of that hatchet is going to hit you in the wrist. Very risky, setting yourself up to be injured. Another problem is none of these accessories, none of these tools, the saw, the blade, especially those, and the fish scaler even, sharp edge that can easily cut you and probably cut you badly. None of them are locking blades, right? So if you're cutting away and you pull back and you hit something and that blade folds over, it's going to come right down on your fingers and you're going to cut your finger or fingers severely with that blade. It's going to come down just like a guillotine and cut away at your blade. Another thing I found is pounding with it, whether it be trying to split wood or to pound a nail, this handle has a habit because of the impact. This handle has a habit. It depresses just enough that this ring comes off of it. And then it's wide open, flopping all over. And you got to keep pushing that ring back on. So overall, it's a neat concept. They had some great ideas going on here. Now the body of it, that all the other accessories and tools are in, held up good. I mean, yeah, I beat it. It held up good. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how does Sty rate this? This tool, I'm going to give it a 2. I know that's a terrible score from 1 to 10, but I'm giving it a 2. The way it failed, that it lost 2 points for that right away. It lost another point for having what I considered unnecessary, useless tools on it. It's just extra weight, extra space, not needed, not necessary. And, I took 8 points away from it, giving it a 2. What about the other 4 points? Where's that from? Those 4 points are because of the hazards this tool presents. With this hatchet Yeah, I can't even get it back together enough to demo again, but this hatchet, there we go. This hatchet, when you have a tool exposed, like I said, like this knife, and you're using it, and that hatchet head is facing your wrist. I mean, it's less than, it's only a ½ inch away from my wrist in a normal holding position of that knife. You tip that knife forward at all, it's touching your wrist. That's a huge hazard. Tools like knives that aren't locking blade are very hazardous also. So I took 4 points away from it for the safety factors that were involved. It looks like a really awesome, neat tool, but it has a lot of shortcomings. They need to re-engineer this, and I think they could make a very useful tool out of this. I really wanted to try to, well, I might be able to a little bit. We'll see. See if this hatchet head you might be able to do a little bit of notch making or something with it, but its usefulness is very limited, very limited. So, interesting tool, but it just doesn't pass the test. Thank you for watching, folks. Hey, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Hit that bell. You'll know when I'm doing another review, a video, or a live stream. Also, if you like this review, doesn't mean you like the product, but if you like the review, give it a thumbs up, eh? I do all my reviews as my honest opinion. I don't get paid to do these. This was gifted to me, and I just tell it the way it is, the way I see it, the way it performs, and I show you so that you know I'm not just blowing smoke. So if you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. And hey, until the next review or next video out here at Camp East Twin Lake Campground, you all make sure use your tools safely and have a very, very nice day. Bye-bye.